What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. Today I want to talk to you guys about something that's kind of crazy, and I had this idea because I was watching Hello J Tello's last video on, Mr. Pandaria and everything that Blizzard's doing with MOP, changing it and all this stuff, and it got me really thinking, is it possible that we see something like this in TBC Classic Anniversary, right? The second iteration of TBC that we're going to be getting. So, I don't know. I mean, I think this is something that needs to be talked about, and I really want to make this video to kind of open up a discussion because I want to read through some comments and see how people feel about this. So without further ado, guys, let's dive in. TBC is coming most likely by the end of this year, if not at the very latest, early 2026, right? January, February. We've seen the Wowhead post of some, theory crafting of release dates saying maybe February 10th, 2026. But I'm still in the category of people who really feel like this is most likely going to be coming around November of this year, right? With a pre-patch starting a little bit before that. Probably 3 to 4 week pre-patch. But either way, that's not the purpose of this video. The purpose of this video is I want to talk to you guys about these changes that they're doing in MOP, right? And Tello brought up a lot of good points, and there's some good and some bad. So the fact that they're changing class viability in Mr. Pandaria Classic is very different than how they've gone about Classic, previously, right? We've been playing Classic since 2019. We had Vanilla, TBC, Wrath, Cataclysm, and now MOP. And now all of a sudden with Mr. Pandaria, they're making some class changes. They're bringing up some classes that were underperforming, nerfing some classes. And I think there's two sides to this, right? One side of this is it's pretty good because it's kind of going to, shake up the meta a little bit, and bring other classes to light that people want to play that may, everyone knows that, let's say they were shit and they don't want to play that class. Now they might be able to play that class, okay, that's a good thing. But here's the bad thing about this. And I want to make this very clear that I'm kind of in the middle. I don't really know where I stand on it because the issue with this is with live class balancing, having every class be kind of balanced. We get what we had in Season of Discovery, which was good and bad in my opinion. If you think back to the beginning of Season of Discovery, you could play a class and you're like, oh, okay, my class got nerfed into the ground. Nobody even wants to take me to raids. I'll just level up this class that's like A tier or S tier, whatever it is. I'll play this. Then you get that class up there, and then next week that class is nerfed into the ground. And then you're like, okay, I'll try this class that's decent and people want to stack it in raids. And you level up that class, you gear it out, and by the time you get into raids with that class, now that class is nerfed into the ground. And I know this is how it's done in retail, but for me, and I don't know if most Classic players feel this way, I think that kind of knowing the meta is the direction that Classic went. This is how people play Classic. They play what they want to play. They play the meta, and then the people who don't play the meta, they have their spot in raids, but they're not stackable classes. The game is min-maxed out of control at this point. So with the live class balancing, you start to run into problems where you kind of need to play it like retail. And the way that retail is played, the most people who play retail at a high level have every class at cap level, and they switch on and off depending on what the meta shifts to that week. It kind of gets rid of the feeling of like being able to even play outside the meta, because if it's expected of you to play that class that's buffed that week or that month, it almost forces you to play it, right? Now, personally, I don't think that they should bring this model to TBC Anniversary. If they did, I guess it wouldn't be the end of the world, but you guys got to realize that it would be game changing. It would completely change the game, right? It no longer would be the Burning Crusade is basically what I'm trying to say, because people know and love the Burning Crusade for what it is, right? Whether your class is top DPS or not, people play their class that they love in the Burning Crusade. The Burning Crusade also introduces arenas, right? So yeah, maybe your class isn't the best in PvE content. Let's look at like Shadow Priest, but they're really good in arenas and twos, doing some shadow play comps, right? It changes everything. So to go ahead and do this stuff in MOP is cool, I guess. Maybe I don't have strong feelings about it because I don't have strong feelings towards MOP. I'm just gonna play it to play it, right? I don't have like a super love or hate for the version of the game. I'm gonna just play it because it's something new to do. And wow, But to do it in TBC, TBC is my favorite expansion. I don't know if it's the right player base to do this for, right? I mean, I don't think the people playing Anniversary want class balancing in TBC, but I could be wrong, and that's why I'm making this video, because I want you guys to let me know how you feel about it. I'm kind of in the middle, leaning more towards I definitely wouldn't want them to do this for the Burning Crusade. But I do, I realize that now we're at a point in time where, anything is possible. Right? Season of Discovery opened up so many doors, and I would like to say that these changes that we're seeing in MoP, whether you're happy about them or not, they are definitely a thing because of Season of Discovery, because they kind of messed with this a lot in Season of Discovery and learned that they can do this live and test things out, different levels of strength for each class and kind of go back and forth. And I don't know. To me, it's okay to do it in Mist of Pandaria, I guess, just like I said, because I don't have an attachment to it. So I don't know how the people that really were attached to MoP, like original MoP, feel about this. And I want you guys to be vocal in the comments and let me know. But for Burning Crusade, I don't think it would be a great idea. I feel like the people that are waiting for Burning Crusade are sitting here on Anniversary playing vanilla over again. And they're clearly people who don't really want the game to change that much. I think there's a time and place for this stuff, and that time was Season of Discovery, and that time will be Classic Plus or Classic whatever the hell is going to happen, Classic Future Edition. But I think if you're giving people an Anniversary edition of a game, quality of life changes are great, but changing the classes so that the game fundamentally plays different. The meta is completely different. The raids feel completely different because this class is now, 4 times stronger than it was, and it brings these buffs. And that was, what that class brought to the table. Maybe it didn't DPS, but it brought these awesome raid buffs, and that's why you brought 1 or 2 of them to a raid. Now that class does 4 times the amount of damage and brings those buffs, so you just kind of get rid of the classes that were brought for pure damage. Like, it changes a lot. And I don't really know how I feel about something like that coming to TBC. Now, I want you all to know also that this is not something that's confirmed. This is something that I just thought of after seeing all these MoP changes, because this kind of took people by surprise. Nobody was expecting them to do this. They didn't do this with Cataclysm, with Wrath, with TBC the first time, or with Vanilla WoW. So the first time they're doing this, and I think it's because it's after SOD, and, that kind of opened the door for these kind of changes. Now, like I said, there's both sides of the fence on this argument. Like, they could be good, they could be bad. I don't really know how the Mist of Pandaria players feel about them. Please comment down below and let me know. But from what I'm seeing, it's a pretty positive reception for Mist of Pandaria, which is why I started thinking about this. I'm like, man, if this is positively received for MoP, like, I wonder if they're going to do this for the Burning Crusade. And I just feel like it might not be the best idea to do any class tuning or class balancing for the Burning Crusade. The Burning Crusade was great the way it was. People are already insanely hyped for it the way that it was, right? I don't think we need to go ahead and change much on there, but that's really just my take on it. I mean, I guess there's other people out there that could feel differently, and I guess, maybe seeing Fury Warriors pumping in Phase 1 or Shadow Priest dominating the meters could be a cool thing, but I don't think that Burning Crusade should turn into Season of Discovery 2. I think that people loved it. Why fix what's not broken? Like, yes, of course, TBC had many problems, just like every expansion of the game has problems, but people love it for specific reasons. And fundamentally changing classes and the way that they perform in the game would be a big change, and a change that I don't know if everyone would be on board with. So I do hope that if Blizzard is thinking about this, that they maybe poll the community or kind of read through comments on videos like this one. I'm sure this won't be the last one that I make on something like this. And really kind of gauge the community's take on this, because it's a very touchy thing when you're messing with like vanilla, TBC, Wrath. I guess once you get into Cataclysm, Mist of Pandaria, and beyond, Warlords and stuff, like, yeah, maybe making these changes isn't that big of a deal, because every class brings a lot of the stuff to the table. A lot of the class identity is different than it was back in like TBC days, vanilla days. So maybe it's not that big of an impact, but I personally feel like it would be a massive impact in TBC. I don't really know if it would be good or bad. I just know that I'm in the middle, but I'm leaning more towards I don't think I would like to see it. but that just could be because I'm biased towards it. TBC is my favorite expansion of all time. And I love the way that it plays out. And to be completely honest, the first time we just played through TBC after 2019 Classic, I played my Hunter as like my meta DPS class, but then I loved playing other classes that weren't top DPS. I played Ret Paladin all of Phase 1, Phase 2. I enjoyed it. Like, I thought it was fun. I loved seal twisting. Like, I don't know. There comes a point where I think too much class balancing isn't good for like classic WoW. And it just starts to make it feel like you just need an alt of every single class to be able to be brought to raids. You got to also remember that in these later versions of the game, it's also way easier to level alts. It's quicker to get to cap level. Leveling is such a small part of the game compared to like TBC, where leveling, yes, faster than vanilla, but it still takes quite a long time to go from 1 to 70. So to have 4 or 5 characters at level 70, you know, to be able to switch on and off, you know, loot's done differently. You get loot at a much slower pace. You know, I don't know. I don't know if it would work. Quality of life changes, of course, welcome changes, right? Like we got dual talents, all that good stuff. You know, maybe some herbalism changes for TBC, stuff like that. Absolutely. But in terms of like changing the way classes perform, I think at that point you're getting into some weird territory of like you're changing the experience of the entire expansion. So unless they're planning on doing like treating this like TBC Season of Discovery, I would probably leave that stuff alone unless you're going to be like tweaking raids and changing raids and specs and talents and all this, and then that wouldn't be the Burning Crusade, right? So I don't know if we should be going down that road, and I don't think Blizzard will, but nobody thought they were going to do this for Mr. Pandaria either. So it is possible, right? And I'm really curious to know what everyone thinks about this. Please comment down below whether you're a MOP player, a TBC enjoyer, whatever you are. I want to know how you feel about the changes in MOP and if you think they're good or bad. And how you would feel if they did this for the Burning Crusade, because I want to kind of parse through the comments and then make another video later on next week, you know, going over all that stuff. So yeah, comment down below. Let me know what you think. Like the video. Jump over to my Twitch, twitch.tv/hammerdance. Follow me on there. I stream Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern time. We've been doing a little bit of variety lately, kind of taking a break. We've been going hard on WoW for like over 2 years straight without playing another game at this point. So we've been doing a little bit of variety lately, and every once in a while jumping back on WoW. We're kind of just waiting for TBC, waiting for MOP. But yeah, follow me on Twitch. Again, I'll comment that down below and pin it to the top. Subscribe to the channel if you love classic WoW. And thank you all so much for watching and listening in. I'll see you all in the next one.